Okay. So welcome everyone. Tonight we are playing Copperhead County, which is a Fortune Dark game by Jason Neely. Um, it is set in, it's a Southern Noir game, so set in the kind of universe of Justified or Breaking Bad or even The Wire, if we take it outside of an East Coast city. Um, we have, I guess, we just started having a discussion about the kind of game we're going to play. So we're going to talk a little bit about what crew we're going to have in today's game. My name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm going to be the GM for the game. So we're going to do a quick round of introductions. Maybe just introduce yourself, maybe what experience you have playing Fortune and Dark games, and then we'll start a discussion. So I'm going to go clockwise for me as I see it. So Ian.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Gauntlet. My name is Ian. My pronouns are he, him. Um, I have had, uh, I would say, not near as much experience as I would like in Forge in the Dark. I've played Blades and I've played Songs for the Dusk right here on the Gauntlet with Shane. Um, Forgive me, were there any other questions? Um,
No, that's really
I,
short and sweet
I'll
at this
say I'll
stage.
say that my favorite genre piece from this sort of genre is No Country for Old Men.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. And Will, how about you?
Hi, my name is Will. Pronouns he, him. I've played a bit of different Fortune the Dark games here on the Gauntlet, like Mutants in the Dark, Scum and Villainy, Band of Blades, Quietus, but only Blades in the Dark for any length of time. Um, and my favorite in this genre is, well, it's like the opposite to Southern crime fiction, right? But it's Fargo, uh, both the movie and the TV show. But I feel it fits in the same
Yeah,
vein.
yeah. Northern crime, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Will. And Chris, how about you?
And my name is Chris. I This is my first time playing on the Gauntlet, my first time playing a Forge in the Dark game. I'm not entirely sure, let's say what is it called? Clockers, the great Richard Price novel. I love this piece of crime fiction. Though you mentioned No Country for Old Men, I actually had the peculiar honor of meeting Cormac McCarthy once after a play, which is a weirdly hard thing to do, meet Cormac McCarthy. But very excited to be playing here.
Yeah, and I think my favorite piece in this genre is definitely Justified. You know, there is um, there's no one holding a candle to the mess that Raylan Givens gets into in that show. Awesome. So yeah, let's have a like I said a sprawling discussion about what crew we're gonna have. Um, Let me give a quick introduction to three crew types. You can see there's a tab per crew. The crew names are Blood, Hellraisers, and Outfit. Um, Blood is a family, right? Uh, you know, um, and I think the suggestion here is that in this county, families run everything, right? So old names are plastered on every street name, every important building, the ballot papers, um, and all those names are part of the elite. But if you pick blood, your family isn't like that. You haven't inherited success on a silver platter, but you're going to work together to enter your family name into the annals of history. Um, so yeah, you'll all be family members, maybe by blood, maybe by marriage, but it's definitely a family affair, and a lot of the moves, special abilities rather, for this crew sheet kind of play into that. The Hellraisers, are if there is um, a bunch of people who are going to kick against the pricks and take their place. These are those people. They want to tear down the kind of old money chicken shit operations that hold sway in this town. So yeah, time to change things around and not wait for scraps off the table. Maybe just take the table. So very kind of direct, very kind of firebrandy in a way. And the final one is the outfit. This is probably like a reverse of the Hellraiser's choice. These are, a lot about money, power, cold-bloodedness, figuring out what's going on. Using the way the world works to hold yourself up. So, obviously not part of that power structure, but maybe adept at using the power structure against it itself. So yeah, three really different kind of looks and feels on these 3 crew sheets. So yeah, let's go back around the table. Chris, any of those 3 like jump out at you? What do you think?
I think maybe Blood is the most interesting, followed by Hellraisers. It feels like, I don't know, the outfit's interesting. It's less interesting to me because it feels like you're starting from a position of power in some ways. And, I think the game kind of wants to be played as a real sort of, from the bottom up kind of narrative.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Blood reminds me of, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Jesco White and Jesco the Dancing Outlaw documentary about a weird Appalachian family in West Virginia. But fabulous documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Blood does remind me of in season 2, I think, of Justified, where you have the Bennett family, the mining operation, all of that going on, which is very cool. Will, how about you? Any thoughts or preferences?
I guess my thoughts are the outfit is like the professional criminals, like the might come and you know what I mean, like you could be among all of these people, like that's what sets you apart. But I do think that they're the least interesting because they're the most would fit into any other crime game, right? And I think Blood,
Right, that could just as easily be like Ocean's 11 or something.
yeah, you could be the PMC military group or something, even, like you're the bad guys that come into Justified, like you're the city kids coming in from Fargo or whatever, right? To move in. I guess Hellraisers, I think, only works as openly loud all the time, which I'm 100% down with. But it's a choice, right? Like whereas Blood can be both quiet and loud, depending on the playbooks that we choose and the claims that we make. Whereas Hellraisers, looking at the way that crew sheet is set up, it's like we will constantly be just gunfights and open threats and big moves. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I could go either way on those,
Okay, cool. Yeah. Ian, how about you? Oh, you're muted.
You're a mutant.
Based on what the other folks have said, I'm leaning towards Hellraisers at this point. I feel like Blood is, based on what you said about about the Copperhead County, it seems like Blood is going to be an element of the setting one way or the other, where there are these sort of families around. And I'd like to, see as much as much of the game as we can on screen at any given time. So I think I'd like to go for Hellraisers to have the biggest breadth of energy.
So maybe like, so it sounds like to me the kind of the concern would be if we go with Hellraiser, we want to maybe not always be going to 11 on the Carnage, or
I have to say that like I don't think that any character that I play is gonna be like a true believer. Like anybody who I play is gonna want to like go find somewhere nice to live after all of this, if possible. At least that's their goal. So the idea of like going out in a blaze of glory is maybe not at top of mind.
And I guess on the flip side of that, if like you said, like the powerful families are definitely out there, but if we do go with the Hellraisers, maybe we want to make sure that some of those connections that we build are with, the families of the PCs, right? To kind of work you into the society a bit more than maybe is kind of evident from reading the Hellraisers crew sheet.
I think I like the Hellraisers because of the short playtime, 4 sessions. So
yeah,
Blood is, you could be one of those political families and you could do it. All the playbooks in Copperhead can be like, you do this, or you're like doing backroom deals in places and bribing cops and doing everything from afar sort of stuff. Whereas I think Hellraisers is gonna trick us in like to the nitty gritty and then have, action, reaction, fallout, a scramble to deal with it in 4 sessions, better than Blood, where I think we'd spend a lot of time like fleshing out, how our family. And although Blood does give you the hook of like, why do we care about these people? Well, I fucking hate that guy, but he's my brother, goddammit. Like, like, yeah.
I agree that the Blood definitely seems like it's very suited to long campaign kind of thing, as opposed to
totally
wham bam.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, ultimately, if I think about it, the thing is that we could do Hellraisers as a sort of like family related thing anyways, and it not be mechanically, you know what I mean? As in like Ian's playing Chris's brother or something, and then like I'm a friend of whatever, like, or we could do Bloods as, this family that's out to, make waves, kind of like is tired of being at the bottom of Copperhead County's pecking order or whatever, right? Or like those Russells, they know what they did. We're going to go after them. So what's mechanically, I guess, is the question there, because I'm not too clear on that myself.
I guess we should look at some of the, like, there are moves, right? There are like crew moves.
So there's special abilities for each of these that, I think the framing of them is kind of important for the feel of the crew sheet. But mechanically speaking, there's no reason why, say for example, there's one in the Blood crew called Blood Harmony. You blend together on a sublime frequency, which is like, you're really good at group actions. There's no reason that wouldn't work for a bunch of Hellraisers, right?
But
like
do we choose claims? Like,
yeah,
are they the same across all books?
The claims are the same across all of them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the kind of the front, or then the type of crime that it's involved in. So the other difference between those are the kind of special upgrades. For the Hellraisers are definitely about, gunning for it, right? Whereas the ones for Blood are
right. The one that I see on Hellraisers is like Freebird, get +1 die to all resistance rolls when fighting or escaping law enforcement. Like,
looks like those Blood brothers made it out again.
That's right. 5 stars in GTA. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind the idea of playing Hellraisers, but just narratively, we do a sort of family affiliation thing too. I mean, I think that could be a good way to split the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I like that. I think at the moment I'm just like, which of the because you want the crew books to have like the weight, the mechanical weight for it as well, right? But
Yeah.
I'd like that. I guess I do like the idea of being like a wronged like a family with a sense of injustice against it, like
Mhm.
that sort of underdog Dukes of Hazzardy type feel. Like, yeah, we are going to be criminals and doing stuff, but like taking on the bigger powers and the Robin Hood sort of thing, folk hero,
Mhm.
almost the Boyd Crowders, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're going to come back to kind of filling out all of the crew sheet. But now that we've kind of picked one, we kind of know where we're going a little bit. So next up, we go to. So let me hide.
Should we take that as a starting point though, to say like to conceive of our Hellraisers group as a
Yeah, I think that's good.
yeah.
As a kind of like maybe the core or the beginnings of it is family, but it's not like everyone is not necessarily related. But
Maybe
like
we weren't like a crime family, but a
Mhm.
family that had people who were involved in crime and like
Yeah,
someone's been killed or like we've been dicked over in some way. We've got common injustice grievances between us, like
right. The thing that I like I'm thinking about that I want to bring over from from watching Andor, which is the most grounded element of it, is like on the planet that Cassian is from,
hmm,
or at least where he has spent most of his life. Everybody in the community, this sort of like scrapping junk, like they break down old starships or whatever. Everybody in the community takes care of each other. So even though they're not maybe like blood family, they are like functionally, people take care of each other's sick mothers, and people like bring food to other people who are like in a tight spot. Like I like that element of sort of communal and being brought together, as you said, by like being screwed over.
it takes a village to raise hell.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. There's our byline for this
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
game.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I will say I have got Copperhead County in front of me, but I find the layout of how you create playbooks and stuff is a bit hard to pass. Like, because bits of it are over here and then bits of it are over here. Like,
Yeah. So the page I have open right now is page 56. So that is like starting your game. So choosing your crew, and then we jump ahead to choose your playbook. So and we'll come back to fill in more details. But I think it's important to know, what the crew is and what the general picture is, and then like create the characters and then like fit them in later on. So yeah, there's 7 playbooks. There's the Brick, who is unsurprisingly an enforcer and war leader. The Deadly Cleaner, an investigator and assassin. The Brilliant Hazard, a builder and destroyer. The Dynamic Mover, a driver and daredevil. The Enterprising Stringer, a schemer and business leader. The Amiable Wheeler, a politician and public face, and that is it. We're not going to use the outlaw because starting your first game with a blank sheet that you fill in, it's just not for us, not for me certainly. So yeah, what do people have any? And that leaves Sabine with 3 to choose from, which is pretty reasonable, I think.
Right, and we're trying to avoid overlap here, right? Like
Well,
Dungeon World style.
yeah, so like there will be only one break, so there's like all of these playbooks should be unique in the group. So yeah, and like there's no suggestion that you shouldn't have the brick and the cleaner together or anything like that. So whatever 4 playbooks we have will work. And obviously it's just gonna affect the game in a huge way. You know, if you don't have like the stringer and the mover, you're just like not doing politics or not doing schmoozing or whatever we want to frame that as. But you know, don't. I wouldn't worry about like leaving gaps or whatever. Just pick what excites you the most. So yeah, if there's one or two that are jumping out at you, let me know, and then go.
Yeah, I think I would like to play a mover. I'd like to be a like a getaway driver. I just watched Baby Driver recently and was like, I want to do some sick car stunts.
You seen Logan Lucky?
Yeah,
I mean, very in genre.
yeah, totally.
I was thinking of either like Wheeler or Hazard.
I was thinking maybe Hazard or Cleaner, I think.
Let me read.
So the hazard is definitely make things go boom. You know, Boyd, I guess Kreider is the archetypical.
Walter White is also the Hazard, I would say.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I admit I was 100% thinking along the lines of blowing things up would
Blowing
be,
things up,
yeah. Car bombs are a great equalizer in the world of gangland wars, right?
I mean, if you want to blow things up, I'm happy to wheel.
Somebody's got to blow the safe, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'll go with Hazard just because Cleaner, I'll inevitably just end up being, you know, the hitman / jackal kind of figure.
Right. That's the classic like stealth archery build in Skyrim. You know, you got to get away from that.
Yeah, yeah. I feel so seen.
Yeah. I mean, the thing, and this is not to convince you otherwise. This is something I spotted looking at the Cleaner. Is the devil's right hand, which is like you get a bonus when you use a small weapon. So it's like very much the silenced pistol kind of Cleaner and not the sniper across the road Cleaner.
Oh yeah. No, I just mean that like the Cleaner immediately screams professional, right? Like super competent kind of like
yeah, John Wick or something.
Whereas maybe I want to play a little bit more of a dipshit. Really, you know?
Maybe.
This definitely seems like a game where dipshittery is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's more dipshittery than a playbook that has a move called Fire in the Hole? I think, yeah. Yeah, I'll go with the Hazard.
That's very good.
Awesome. And Chris, sorry, you said Wheeler, right?
Yeah, I like Wheeler. I like Wheeler.
Okay.
Although I now have to invent a rhetorical style that is florid and ingratiating. Or, well, some of the above.
I mean, only if you pick that move, right?
Okay, yeah, right.
I feel like the thing with the Wheeler is just that they're charming, right? Like they're the face in the operation.
Yeah. I think I have a concept. I see the 3-6 Mafia reference on here. I can roll with
that. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag those three closer to the front, closer to the left, just so it's easier to find them. I'm gonna give them a color. Okay. So that is picking the playbooks. So when you kind of fill in the details, obviously on the sheet you got a lot of stuff. In the kind of first section on the left, you got the usual, put in your name, appearance, style, pronouns. There's a space for a picture down below called your mugshot. Origin, so these prompts like local, southern, western, northern, immigrant are very broad. You can put in a very specific origin to inspire by those if you want. Same for history. And drive is obviously kind of important. I guess we talked a little bit about family and like there's a grievance. So maybe it is like that simple as family or justice, but maybe there's something else, on top of that. So those are all kind of things that you can bring in when you talk about your drive. So like what propelled you into the life of crime, what keeps you going when the brakes of outlaw life bring you down. So that's the first kind of section of creating character. The second one is you choose your friends and rivals. So underneath all the moves for or all the special abilities rather for your playbook, you'll notice there are friends. So there should be 4. So like all of these are your buddies, right? So outside of the gang are kind of peripheral to the gang. One of those, you're going to tick the C for like close friends, right? So like your best buddy outside of the gang, and they'll pretty much do anything for you. And for one of the others, you'll tick under the or, which is for rivals. So like someone who used to be your friend, but now wants to take you down or make your life a misery or whatever it is. And we'll ask a bunch of questions about those 2 choices, especially. The next stage is to increase your action rating. So each of you should start with 2 ticks in the action rating. So those come in 3 groups under grit, gumption, and grace. And so you can just tick 4 other boxes. You shouldn't go over 2 in any of those, but you can justify like whatever you tick is fine. The character keeper has some tooltips on or notes on each of those 12 abilities that kind of tells you what it is. It should make a good bit of sense. But if you got any question as to like where the dividing line between say fight or hunt is, that is a very typical one in Blades in the Dark. You don't need to worry about equipment. In Forge in the Dark, equipment happens during the mission. You just say whether you're going in hot or cold, and then you pick equipment as you need to. The kind of right modes section is where because there's so much stuff on the character keeper for each playbook. This is a section that just shows what the other characters in the gang have. So the only thing you should do here is in the 3 header sections underneath crew, there's the names of 3 of the 3 playbooks. So if you like update those to reflect what the other choices are, and then you can leave the 3rd one to be decided. And then it'll just pull in everyone's abilities and their stress, so you can see what it is in the middle of a mission. You don't need to keep switching back and forth. And then obviously the last thing in terms of like your character is to choose a special ability. There's 8 maybe for each. All of them are pretty awesome. If you're really not sure, the first one is pretty cool. Kind of a core ability for the playbook if you're not sure. Okay, so I will leave you at it. for a while. But if you do have any questions or doubts or just want some advice, please holler.
I am not giving myself any people skills whatsoever, just for the record.
Great, that's good to know.
I'll maybe throw an extra tick on hustle.
Donna, when we're putting in action points, we can't go any higher than 2 to begin with, right?
Yeah,
Is
that's right.
that's similar to other Forge games? Cool. Great.
I mean, if you were that good at something, you would not be stuck in this
I wouldn't be here.
shitty little town.
And just as a reminder, we can invest 4 points beyond the 2 that are already part of the
exactly
playbook.
So
cool.
You should end up with 6. And I guess the only thing I'll say mechanically is that the groupings for those under grit, gumption, and grace are important in terms of when you do a resistance roll. Like the more first dots you have under one of those headings gives you more dice to resist. So there is a mechanical advantage to being a generalist, you know. But you know, I rarely make that an actual concern. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Sure. Yeah. It'll be okay. No problem.
So Donna, can you remind me a little bit about how history works?
Yeah, so here you're gonna pick out what you did before you chose a life of crime.
Right. Okay.
So these are slightly different depending on the playbook you have, but they all have like criminals. So you were a career criminal, maybe by yourself or maybe in a different crew before. You could have been, sorry, so let me just take a quick look. Politics, professional, youth, other. Okay, yeah. So, in politics, you could have worked on the campaign trail, in the halls of government, at whatever level. Um, Professional, a white collar career, that somehow went off the rails. Maybe in this town, or maybe back east, or wherever. Um, uh, I guess what else is in there for the Wheeler? Um, Your youth. So like if you want to be like a kid, like a teenager or whatever, you can. The the very American thing it says here is old enough to drive, but maybe not to drink. You know,
Fond memories. Fond memories.
legally, I guess.
Got
And we all know how important the law is to you folks. Right? So it's really just what you were before you joined the crew.
I think I'm good to go, but no hurries.
Yeah, over here as well, I think.
Yeah, I just don't have a name really. That's name or character portrait. That's what I'm struggling with.
So the will be familiar, but on the character on the mugshot at the very bottom of that square, there's a space for an image URL if you want to plug in like a .jpeg or whatever URL, and that will also bring into your kind of preview for the rest of the crew, if that helps. Yeah, but if everyone is pretty much done, I think we can probably take a break. I have just 2 minutes to the hour, so do people want to take like 10 minutes or until five past? Yeah. Okay, let's take till 5 past, and I'll see you back then.
See you
Sounds
soon.
good.
So, maybe before I start asking some loaded questions, let's get a quick intro to our 3 crew members. Let's go in character keeper order, left to right, which means our hazard is first. Oh, no, you're eating. Okay, sorry. Let's go to our mover then. Ian, do you want to introduce us to your character?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm playing Malcolm Preston Harris, who is a mover. The role that he plays in this crew is going to be like getaway driver, other kind of vehicular crime. He's kind of a scrawny guy with wears like a denim vest with like music, like metal and country music patches. I think he has like sort of like old kid vibes, like still kind of a baby face, but with like a little bit of gray in his uh, stubble. He is a local. He's from here. He's from Copperhead County, probably up in one of the the hollers somewhere. And I think that so I chose the history misfit for him. I think that he is a you know, he's like the type of person who anywhere else in the country might join a punk band, except here in Copperhead County, Tennessee, he joins a like an outlaw country band and ends up being like Donna, what's our profanity policy here on this broadcast?
I have no profanity policy,
Okay,
so
well,
whatever.
he turns out to be kind of like a shit hot like pedal steel player. Um, but I think the band that he joined when he was like a young guy, like a kid, um, there's some like more the lead singer or somebody who is like more charismatic, and that guy like dumps the rest of the band and goes to Nashville. And so Malcolm's drive is basically to just like make enough money to move to Nashville and and get famous to get even, basically. um, and I have chosen he's got a couple of points in handle, which is the skill for the action for driving or using vehicles, and he's got a 1 point in tread, connect, reckon, and fix. I chose the sort of straight ahead special ability for him, full throttle, which says when I run or drive at full speed, I get one extra die to keep control, clear obstacles, or pull cool stunts. And I chose for his friend, I chose Gonzalez, a racer. And for his rival, I chose Patton, a hustler, who I think is that like very charismatic, very handsome guy who sold out the band and went to Nashville to be famous.
But obviously he's got to be back, right? You
Yeah,
can't get rid of your rival that easy, right?
Maybe he's like coming through on tour, or so, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. Big homecoming show for Preston, yeah, or Patton.
So, I mean, most importantly, what was the name of the band, right?
Oh boy, it was probably something like I'm just thinking about like bands that I actually know. Is there like a name? I feel like there's got to be something like the name of a local geographic feature in it, like the name of a river or something.
Yeah, I mean, so if you switch to the county map tab on the Keeper, so we have slightly changed the setting in that we are playing this as a sequel to a game of Seco Creek that we played. So, like, the name of the city is no longer Patterson; it's Bright City, and the name of the county, I guess, is Seco Creek. And that's like Dam County, the kind of the non-metropolitan area. So yeah, you got all the other place names are from straight out of the book, though. So yeah, I guess you have a whole ream of geographical. So the name of the river, I guess, is Seco Creek, right?
Yeah. It might take me a second to name that.
That's no problem.
If you have any other loaded questions you want to ask,
I do. That was just like
sure.
Something that will definitely come up in play. So apart from the band, I mean, like, you're a shit hot driver, right? So like, where do we think Malcolm learned that? Did he do some drag racing early on in life, or?
I think that well, one of his friends is the friend that I listed for him is Gonzalez, who is a racer. And I think that Gonzalez is, if not like an old man at this point, is like an older maybe like a NASCAR driver or something, who kind of took this kid under his wing, and I mean, there's not much to do on the wrong side of Bright City, right? Like you don't there's not really any like after school programs or anything. And so I think that Malcolm grew up just like boosting cars and doing donuts. And that's how that's how he learned to drive. Is that satisfying enough of an answer for you?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
So known to the police or sheriff's office.
Known to the authorities, definitely.
Okay, awesome. I think we have a good idea of your fast friends. Gonzalez, obviously, the kind of mentor figure, and Patton, who's this, I mean, it says hustler, right? But I think the way you framed them as being, someone who cut and ran to make themselves or to live their dream, even though it meant sinking their friends, is close enough to a hustler for my purposes. The rest of the band, are they still around? Ne'er-do-wells, are they moved on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some people who like, that I feel like this is going to be the first time, or it won't be the last time that our story here is going to touch up against issues of like class divide and poverty and so on. I think that there's a lot of people who just can't afford to move away from Copperhead County. Like this is the sort of the barrier to egress, if you will, is a little too high for some people. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of I think that those guys most of them are still just kind of kicking around. They still probably like meet up on Tuesday nights to jam at the local bar or something, but like nothing's really happening, nothing's really going anywhere.
Yeah, cool.
And the fact that it's like, I think really good music doesn't matter because they're not in Nashville and no one's hearing it.
Yeah, the 6 people at your local dive do not. The cover charge, if there is any, doesn't really cover much.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. In terms of the kind of family village structure, you kind of, maybe we'll come back around to it, but it's something to think about. Like, where does Malcolm fit in?
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll make more sense when I think I don't think Malcolm's old enough to like, or got his head on straight enough to like have kids or be married or anything, but maybe he's like a boyfriend of somebody's brother or sister. Maybe he's like a nephew or something.
Okay. And also, in the meantime, take a quick look at the NPCs tab.
Sure.
So I've just kind of pre-populated. I've just dumped a bunch of pictures in here. And these are kind of divided between the different pillars of the society. So like civilians, criminals, friends and associates, and outsiders and rivals. And so like for Gonzalez, you can, and obviously you can just replace any of these images if you have an idea yourself. But if you want to put in Gonzalez and Patton in here, in your friends and associates / outsiders and rivals, and summarize your thoughts on them, that would be great.
Sure.
If you don't want to replace any of those, there's a clear spot at the end, or we can manage somehow.
Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, you want me to just take a moment to do that?
Yeah. So, Chris, let's talk about your wheeler and dealer.
Yeah. So I think so Jesse or Jesco, I think his name Jesco goes by Jesse. Also had a sort of music connection backstory, so that's sort of interesting. Though I think Jesse grew up idolizing sort of Memphis rap and sort of early trap stuff, and has long and involved thoughts about how Gucci Mane stole the sound of Memphis and took it to Atlanta, and then Chicago came along and did it even worse. I think he, his big dream is to get to Memphis, and he sort of hitched his train to Baird, who is a rapper who's starting to develop a career. I'm getting into friends and rivals already. But I think he very much views sort of an urban location as a way to, he doesn't like where he's from. He wishes he were from somewhere where the real action was, where things are actually going on. And so he sort of views that as his ticket out of town. I have here aspiring musician. I think maybe he's like Baird's manager or something. Also in my head, he just looks like Snoop Dogg but white. Just very tall, very thin, like kind of Marfan syndrome kind of build. Neat and tidy, but probably still in a t-shirt and jeans even when he's relatively dressed up. Then I think for his rival, I thought that Baird's husband would be a good sort of like, doesn't like that the manager is in on the action, thinks maybe there's something going on there more than just booking shows and whatnot. Something along those lines. And I took Mouth of the South, and we'll figure out what Jesco sounds like maybe once I start talking in his voice.
Yeah. Awesome. And yeah, I mean, I think the kind of manager-esque, I mean, is there a connection with Malcolm's career, or is that a whole, I mean, obviously the two genres are completely different.
Yeah, I think he would think that that's like honky music, right? Like I think Jesse might have, yeah, I mean, yeah. But I think Jesse might have some mild racial identity issues. He's probably like super sensitive to racism, like in a sort of, maybe taking it, in a more, considerably more so than you would expect him to be, as a sort of coping mechanism in some ways. But just as a way of sort of like trying to feel above the community that he's from, if he's sort of militantly anti-racist, it's his way of sort of dismissing the people around him, or at least the immediate people around him. Certainly, there's plenty of Black people in his orbit also. But I think he's maybe aware of Malcolm and the heretofore unnamed band, even if he wants to write it off. Maybe he can like quietly in the back of his brain be like, oh, those boys are actually good, but he would never say so aloud.
I hear that lead singer's gone to Nashville.
Yeah.
So they must have been good, right? Like,
yeah.
He's on the tour coming back through here. Like, maybe Baird could get some ticket, could get a hookup through him, or like
totally. Yes. And would not be above trying to like work that angle, even if he's also gonna shit talk him along the way.
I'm shocked. And like, what do you think the kind of the pivotal moment that brought Jesse into the life of crime would be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Early, one of the first shows that he ever booked, the the bar owner, first time they ever went on the road. They were out of town, and probably still somewhere in Tennessee, not that far away, but far enough that the bar owner stiffed them. And Jesse, they drove away disappointed that night, but like later that night, everybody else is asleep in the hotel. Jesse went back and torched the place. Maybe after seeing if he couldn't get the raid the cash registers first. But I think that was his like, hey, there's more than one way to make it in the music business kind of thing.
Awesome. And like, what do people think of him? A lot of hustle, a lot of a lot of fronting up. But do you think he's like well thought of, or just do people think he's all bluster or all talk?
I think he's abrasive but effective. And maybe charismatic, but also a little obnoxious in the way that charismatic people can also be.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Well, let's talk about your hazard.
So I'm playing Hope Preston Harris. If Ian's okay with that. Yeah. Malcolm's I think younger sister, maybe. Not by many. How old's Malcolm? About?
Oh, he's I would say like late 20s.
Yes, I think she's just a few years younger than you, like early mid-20s. And Hope Preston Harris is tall, skinny.
Preston, by the way, Preston is a middle name.
Oh, then tall. Hope Harris, then even better.
Okay.
Unless our daddy gave us the same middle name.
That would be very strange.
Dumb son of a bitch. Yeah. Yeah. Hope Penny Harris, let's say. But she hates Penny and will hit anyone who calls her by her middle name. But yeah, she's a local girl. She's again, like Malcolm had, he would race cars and get into trouble. Guess who taught her how to hotwire her first car? It was her big brother. And he even took the fall when she crashed it, which was nice. But she's lived a similarly sort of dead end life with a brief interruption where she signed up and went off and tried to enroll as because she always got a good grade. She was always good with building shit. She went off to go and try and build bombs for Uncle Sam instead in the army, and then got quickly drummed out when they found her stealing shit and selling it in the thing. So immediately saw the opportunity to make a criminal enterprise out of effective conscription. Enlistment, that's the word. And so she got drummed out and came back here and, fell back into old habits and has been kicking around Copperhead Creek County. I have to change that at the top of my character sheet so that I see Copperhead Creek County instead of Copperhead every time I look at it.
Yeah, I'll do
that. Yeah. Yeah, and she is a bit of a scrapper. She's learned some about driving cars and machinery from her brother. She's mainly quite smart and good with tools and everything, though. And she's, I think, driven by justice, because I think that I would really like us to have some real vendetta against one of the more powerful factions in this.
Yeah, maybe Malcolm has already like written off the possibility of that sort of thing. He's older and a little more jaded.
Yeah,
and definitely likes to like present that way around his younger sister. Like I am the oldest of my siblings, and I definitely like notice myself falling into this pattern of like feeling like I need to act more sophisticated around them because I'm like their older brother who they should look up to, like
Yeah.
as you were saying before, like even though I can be kind of a dipshit sometimes, like I don't want to like admit that to them,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
I love that.
Um,
I mean, and not to get too far ahead, but maybe like our uncle or our dad or somebody, like killed relatively, so that we're maybe like a loose association of criminals in the criminal enterprise beforehand, right? But now is like, well, they fucked us, and like they're always going to keep fucking us if they don't, like, if we don't do something about it.
right.
And it matters less to Malcolm, right? But it certainly Hope's kind of like,
Right.
she's
Well,
not going to let it
we're
go,
sort of united in this kind of broader spectrum of like anything that we want, we have to get it for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
And I think given as raw local, certainly could maybe be a big fan of like Baird, or hang around Jesse, listen to some of his acts and stuff that he's put on, always wheeling and dealing on the side. Who's your good weed connection for tonight? Well, you're going to need it for the if it's going to be a good night that people remember, right? You want people to talk about it afterwards, so they're going to need a little something, yeah. And her rival is Stacy, a pharmacist who I think basically uses her legal scripts to effectively be one of the biggest drug dealers in Circle Creek. A lot of oxy goes unaccounted for at the end of the day from all of her prescriptions. A lot of refill prescriptions that need to be done out of thing and that are signed off, and then sold on the black market. And I think maybe Stacy, maybe tied into whatever faction we end up dealing with or something, right? Like maybe one aspect of it, or perhaps has one of our relatives hooked on. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason to dislike this hypocritical kind of veneer of civility. And my friend is Lee, an engineer who is a grumpy old retired ex-army engineer as well, who taught me all the little tricks and shit like that, and generally disapproves of crime, but also, God knows the VA's not covered his debts for a long time. So yeah, he lives locally, maybe is tied in with our family, maybe is sort of like the parental figure that clearly Malcolm and Hope should have had, maybe instead of the one that they did have.
Right.
As bad as he might be, kind of thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So my move was fire in the hole, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Donna, the name of this band is Patton Price and the Howling Winters.
And so I didn't specify a family relation. I could be a Harris sibling too, or I could be somebody. I mean, there can't be that many music venues in Seco Creek. I want to know where the Spanish immigrants ended up in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think we had in the game of Seco Creek, we had gone much further west.
Got it.
So.
But anyway, that's either here or there. Maybe I know Malcolm, from that music scene. Maybe I'm like a middle sibling. I'm a cousin. Y'all
cousin? Cousin?
Maybe.
Because I feel like cousin can be close. Like who.
Nobody's like, oh, so his uncle, but then married her, and then it's a cousin.
Yeah, it's cousin.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. A lot can be condensed into the term cousin, I think.
Yeah. It's pretty broad, but okay. Sorry. Any extra questions I have for you? I think you've covered everything. I think the kind of the hanging question of that kind of grudge or justice, maybe we all dive into that when we talk about the factions that you have a connection with, because
Yeah.
For a short run, let's whoever you're going to be unfriendly with is going to be the same people responsible, right?
Yeah, I mean that's also why I thought that would be a good unifying motivation, right? Because it gives us a faction to aim at rather than spending 2 sessions seeing what falls out of our first seize opportunity kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I think any other questions? No, I think that is good enough for me at the moment. Okay. So yeah, we got a pair of siblings and a cousin, which is, that's family. Even if, you're not quite sure whose aunt or whatever is responsible for Jesse,
Who's keeping track, really?
Who's keeping track, yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the crew sheet. So Hellraiser. So, but keep an eye on the county map because that's going to kind of be where you make your decision. You're going to choose your crew HQ. So this is where you hang out, keep your stuff, manage your affairs. Look at the county map and decide what area it's in, and then where exactly it is and what it's like. So, like, I guess pick a neighborhood, and then like, is it the back office of a club or an abandoned warehouse, or the upstairs of the Harris home, right? Who knows? So yeah, I mean, I guess. Sorry, when you are picking the neighborhood, you'll notice in the neighborhood descriptions I put in a name of a faction at the end in bold, and that's the controlling faction in that neighborhood or in that area. And so you're going to have some options there to be friendly with them or completely piss them off. So do people have some thoughts, preferences?
Say again, which part of the character keeper are we looking at here?
Oh, so in the Hellraisers tab, there's a section for like HQ name location, but you're going to be like looking at the county map to figure that out, where you're going to be based.
Okay. About what scale is this map that we're looking at here? Like,
I think like in terms of population,
yeah,
maybe like 100,000 total in that kind of whole city county area.
Right. Okay. Just looking at all the neighborhoods here, trying to figure out what, like, we're not going to have our hideout in Fort Alice. That's too bougie.
I mean, so the obvious one, which doesn't necessarily make it the best one, seems like Glad Avenue, because that's where the musical,
right.
It seems like would stuff would be happening. Though maybe that's a little too on the nose. My cat has just sneezed all over my computer monitor.
Bless you, cat.
Yeah.
How about Adamstown? I guess it's whether or not we view our headquarters as sort of like in our neighborhood, or like our sort of like inroad into some other person's neighborhood. If I went with
Right.
Adamstown, I'd be thinking of it as like that's sort of where we've come up at kind of thing. Although that is quite far from, I guess it's off the road towards Glad Avenue, isn't it? But not directly across. You can see the bright
Yeah.
lights of Glad Avenue from the slums of Adamstown.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
also there's going to be clubs all over the city, right, or dive bars, So
Right.
One thing I like about Adamstown as well is that it has that faction, Baron Carter, a charismatic warlord with dreams of county-wide conquest, who it seems like he could either be a useful ally or a potential target for.
A mark. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe the person we have a vendetta against, right? Because even if he's on the lower end of the factional scale, he's still a
Yeah.
2 kind of thing.
What's this? Donna, what's this area that's like between Adamstown and Glad Avenue where it says Seco Creek actually? Like,
Yeah, so that's the kind of the small town of Seco Creek, which is probably in terms of like the locations, it's still probably mostly Adamstown.
yeah.
It's just like the old town that was like functionally separate from Bright City back in the day, but it's kind of
Right.
been
And then they just kind
gobbled
of
up by
grew
the
together. Yeah,
expansion.
totally.
It's the aging outer city residential area. It's the last part of the industrial area plus kind of stuff, right? Because it was the
Yeah.
old town and it's just been turned into kind of like, well, that's where you can afford to live now.
Yeah.
That feels good to me, especially if there's a kind of like not like rural exactly aspect to it, but if there's like the roads here are all built, it doesn't look like they're on as much of a grid. There might be some pockets in here where it's just like, here's like a really steep hill or valley that we can't actually build in. Like I like that aspect of like these are some back roads here.
Yeah.
I like that it's like hollers adjacent.
Yeah. We're not quite out in the part of Tennessee where they like just got electricity 30 years ago or something, but like
we've got plumbing and running water. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So I guess if you're in like an old Seco Creek, like functionally, do you want to say that's Adamstown or like East Hollows? What do you think?
I like the notion of having Baron Carter as the
yeah, that's good.
The main power center there.
Yeah.
Adamstown then.
Yeah, let's say that. And it's just like the northern part of.
Yeah.
Cool.
And in that case, the lucky number 7 was the like saloon in the Seco Creek game. So maybe that's the kind of dive bar.
That's a good name for a dive bar.
Yeah, it is. It's a good Tennessee dive bar name.
What was it called again? The
lucky number 7.
Lucky Number 7. Oh man, that movie, Lucky Number 7, so bad.
Not particularly lucky for most of the folks who spend their evenings there.
Cool. So, like, do you want to make that like the back of that tavern or the old room that never gets used upstairs in that bar your kind of HQ, or what do you reckon?
Yeah.
That feels good.
Yeah, it has a choose a like an enterprise, doesn't it? Like a business that it's part of.
Yeah. So there's like one of the kind of claims that you can build up is a front. So you get a front business helping you out there. Okay. So so yeah, you've got 3 options to deal with the faction controlling this neighborhood, which is Baron Carter, you can give them tribute, which means give them 2 cash, which is the only cash you have, in exchange for +1 status. You can treat them with respect, give them 1 cash in exchange for breathing room. So like they're not friendly, they're not your enemies, they're just like, okay. And your third option is to blow them off. Keep your money and take -1 status with them. So give them the finger, I guess, you know.
That's definitely like the Hellraiser's approach, isn't it?
I mean, if we've got the family vendetta, then that might, for good or ill, make the most sense.
I mean, I was just going to suggest that maybe respect is
A very strong word, even if it's
well,
wise.
yeah, respect is the wrong word, but maybe, you know, like the reason that we've paid that 1 cash is part of why we have that vendetta. You know, we were like
Right.
forced into doing it, and it's like,
shaken down. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We'll get that fucking money back, covered in blood, one way or the other. You know.
Right.
Less respect and more biding your time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe this Baron Carter, whether Baron is like a first name or a title or whatever, maybe this guy knows that we've been holding out on him.
Yeah.
And is like continuing to tighten the screws, you know, as I'm sure he does with the average person within his radius of influence.
Do we want to be spitting in his face immediately, or biding our time and being under suspicion by him?
I feel like biding time is
I like that.
is the way to go.
Sure.
I want to have our disrespect of Baron Carter be like on screen.
Yeah.
No, not in the opening crawl, so to speak.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So uncheck one of those cash boxes, and I have kind of bolded Baron Carter's status as 0. That is definitely a decision. So, you know, like paint a picture of me in terms of your interactions now day to day with Baron Carter. Is that like he knows you're up to something, but he doesn't know what yet, or is he kind of just thinks that you are effectively working his turf and giving him a cut and he is happy? What do you want?
Denna, can you tell me a little bit about what Baron is Baron Carter just like actually running a protection racket, or like what is the nature of his grift?
Yeah.
Is there anything canon about him that we got to work around?
There is. Like Will said, Baron Carter is a charismatic warlord with dreams of county-wide conquest. Clawed his way from the Adamstown projects, the Barnett mob's inner circle through hard work, a steely trigger finger, and a kingly mane that draws impressionable criminals to his service. He became indispensable enough to rule Adamstown as his own fief in the Barnett Kingdom, where he built a legion of soldiers and dealers whose primary loyalty was to his banner. But Baron wasn't made to play the vassal, only to be the king. He's launched a war for the city and someday the county, dropping bodies and taking turf at a fierce clip. Will he prove unstoppable, or will the establishment crush his rebellion? So I guess his claims are like drugs and vice, a couple of clubs, warehouses, you know, pushing into Coleman Park across the railway. Friends are Ask for Alice, who are like local drug dealers, and the Heathens Motorcycle Club. And enemies are the Barnett Mob and the Patterson Police Department.
Yeah, the Motorcycle Club sounds like protection racket to me. Like, wow, nice dive bar you got here.
Does it make sense to try to figure out what he did that we are aggrieved about?
Yeah. If you think he is the guy who did the thing, I think it makes sense.
If that is the way that we're.
I think it's either he did it or based upon that description, the Barnett crime family did it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and he was there or something.
yeah, so he's either our sort of like enemy of my enemy, the
Yeah.
much more powerful Barnett crime family, and maybe we're like the plucky group of outlaws with a grudge against the Barnett crime family that Baron Carter can use, you know, or he's actually like the underdog in this war against the slower, older organization, and we're just collateral damage as far as he's concerned, and we're not going to take that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I feel like that, this sort of, maybe this is too obvious and too like cliche, I guess, but like I feel like this sort of obvious thing is like through involvement with either one of these groups, like a beloved family member was killed or something,
Ooh.
a parent maybe.
Yeah, I'd love that. Maybe like if we went with him being the antagonist, our antagonist, then maybe like our family member is a like someone who worked kind of for the Barnetts, but not like part of the family, like paid up to them or something, and they were the collateral. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Baron Carter just saw territory to seize, and like you're affiliated with it. You're a message to the Barnett crime family. You're not anything on your own, kind of stuff. And we're just like, and he thinks that, well, what the fuck are you going to do about it? To us.
Right.
I quite like that because as well, I think within 4 sessions we can work at taking down, making a big dent against a level 2 faction, whereas a level 4 crime family feels like a 20-session campaign.
That's for the sequel game for this
one.
Yeah.
Where we ally with the Empire, then the turns out the Empire is just as bad as the local warlord or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
What do you think he did? Like burn down a different venue, maybe? Like 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 maybe there were 2 bars owned by the owner of the Lucky Number 7, and we're the ones who've inherited this.
Lucky
maybe
number 6.
Number 6. Yeah.
I like the idea of hey, they did something against the family. I almost like if it was like through inaction. Maybe this is getting too into specifics, but they just sort of let somebody be hurt or let somebody, it wasn't necessarily like an active thing. They just saw it coming and let the trolley run over the dude.
Right.
Oh yeah, I was thinking more like, not they went after that person specifically, but like they blew up the Lucky Number 6 while some of the Barnett crime family was in there or something, like because they were
everybody was supposed to be out, but somebody was staying late, working on taxes or something.
Or maybe that's like they were coming to pick up the Barnett crime family's payment money, right? And it was just like, well, that was just business, like they were coming down for money, and they knew what would happen if they come to our territory for money, and people knew what would happen if they carried on paying up to the Barnetts. And well,
nothing personal, kid.
Yeah. You won't make the same mistake again, will you? Pats you on the face.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the original question, Donna?
Well, this is a great tangent. I can't even remember what the question was. I think it was, what was the tenor of your current relationship with Baron Carter? Were they like...
absolute minimum in terms of respect. Just the least we can that we can give without getting in like active trouble, and waiting for an opportunity to get one over on him. Does that feel right?
It's an envelope and not a handshake.
Yeah.
Any kind of decision on who that family member who got caught in the crossfire was? Father to the siblings, maybe? Or is that too close?
I'm up for father. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like you said, 4 sessions.
Yeah.
obvious choices are where we're at, I think.
Right.
Awesome. Okay.
Happy Harris.
I've got to go with that. Happy Harris. He's in the notes
Happy
now.
Harris.
So,
I said Pappy, but I like Happy also.
Happy's good.
Happy Harris.
Happy Harris.
Yeah. Fuck off, Dad. Yeah. Yeah.
Original name of the band. Then they, came up with something better.
Yeah.
Sorry. So where was I? Okay, so that is step 10, choose your crew HQ. So step 11, choose a starting claim. So the reason you're in a crew is to engage in organized crime. I mean, the level of organization at this stage may be low. One way you do this is by acquiring claims, businesses, territory, and developments which make up your growing criminal empire. Even if your crew doesn't yet want to engage in the empire business, these are claims that will be useful for you. So claims are organized into 5 categories. 4 are available for your starting scheme: drugs, affront business, theft, and vice. So you kind of choose the category which most interests you, and then you mark the topmost claim. So, for example, if you were saying, let's go with vice, you're going to be ticking a private haunt. And so, like, all of these are, active businesses that give you money or they give you some other benefit. You won't be, the 5th one is turf. You're not going to control any turf right now, but you're going to be present. So I'm going to mark you as present in Adamstown.
Claims, by the way, start on page 48 in my book, which is version 1.0.
Mine's dated rather than versioned.
I'm sorry,
I'm 12/05/21. So
yeah,
I think that's slightly later than version 10.
Yeah, but it's same page 48.
Yeah.
48, okay. Thank you.
I feel like the this is just my proposal, and I'm we should have a conversation about it, but I feel like vice claims, private haunt is a good one. If you're going to sell sin to people, you need a safe place for them to sin within. This might be a hospitality business like a bar or restaurant, but with a private back room or other secret chamber where the real shit goes down.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense with what we've got so far.
Yeah, I mean, they're thinking vice or front. The first step in money laundering is finding a good front, something under the radar where a lot of cash changes hands, like the self-promoting music industry.
Sketch accounting in the music industry?
But hey, it just turns out we're the ones who make profit, like everybody else is. Strange how somehow we keep coming into big payouts for contracts and promotion, despite the fact that we never make any money.
T-shirts bought that night.
Yeah, CDs and T-shirts. At some point,
merch,
just giving them away.
Like halfway through the show, please visit our table at the back of the.
Yeah, but I like Vice as well. I mainly suggest Front because I feel Front leans more into that music thing than Vice. Vice is adjacent to it. If they both work together. I think Front pushes that as a business that needs sustaining rather than just like drugs that we're selling to people under the radar of the thing.
I guess my sort of rationale for why we would go with the Vice first and then the Front second, like once we can level up, is that I can't imagine that at this moment there is a lot of money changing hands at the lucky number 7.
No, I imagine it as like the cars that I steal that you drive to their sellers, and Jesse take some of that money to make it look as though he's doing some good work for his contract, for his signed artists, but really it's just like, here's a slice of our money, of our laundered money, basically. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's really CD sales. Spotify, yeah, right, like
Uh-huh.
really popular. Trust me.
Right. Yeah. So Jesse's cooking the books as well, as far as like.
They tell
Yeah,
you there's no money in streaming, but I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And that way, when it dries up as well, just be like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So
just
if we do Vice, what is the Vice that we're purveying?
I think it's mostly just like a place where people can indulge in whatever they have, and we like look the other way. Like the classic thing is like a bar is a safe consumption site for alcohol. Like, why don't we have safe consumption sites for other drugs? And I feel like in the absence of any kind of shall we say licit version of that, having a place where people can kind of like uh do whatever it is that they're going to do and like be around other people or like be in a kind of atmosphere of camaraderie or whatever, rather than just like like a porta potty somewhere, like
rather than the woods, right? Like,
yeah.
So
that's
I mean,
that's mostly my thing.
For what it's worth, so I think there's definitely like a lot of overlap here. I think maybe the front makes a little bit more sense from where I'm sitting, just because of the vagueness of the, hey, you can come here and it's a
Right.
get
That
high,
could
whatever.
be something that's just true about the place.
I mean,
right?
yeah, and it certainly seems likely that it would be, but
Mhm.
And maybe that's a good place to think about that first job, right? We gotta spread our wings a little bit, get a new
sure.
vice den. We can't be doing that in the number 7, and we got no safe haven for ourselves, kind of thing. So expansion is good, and maybe front is a good place to have as like a safe start, and then like move out for the vice.
Right.
I also like, because we can play more into the we're not a den of scum and inequity, like poisoning your children or whatever, right? Like we're not the crack den in the middle of town with a like and I also like the mechanical benefit of front business more than the one profit. I think that's,
Sure.
if I'm honestly
Yeah.
true.
I'm okay with that. Let's do that.
But I like the idea that ours is a place where people come and they don't just order from the bar, they go out back and have a smoke, or do some trade underneath the table, but it's not the major sort of it's a dodgy dive bar. 100% a dodgy dive bar.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so many dodgy dive bars in Tennessee, and so many specifically within Copperhead County. Like, who can investigate them all, right? Like, yeah.
I also think it might make sense that we weren't like super eager to get into drug dealing, because Barron is, the local, drug kingpin or region, and so maybe we're like, well, we'll hold off on that particular.
Right. At least until we can negotiate from a position of strength. Yeah.
Standing over is
I
great.
say as these 3 like punk kids, basically.
You gotta aim high.
Sabine's going to play a brick or a cleaner who's going to bring an assault rifle and high explosives situation and immediately square us off. Yeah.
The nickname of that character will be Position of Strength. Okay. There is kind of a follow-on question for that, but I think we should take a break now. I've got 2 minutes past, so can we say we're back at 10 past?
Sure thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, so we're back. So, in line with that claim for the crew, the front business, you determine 2 interested factions, one of which competes with the starting claim you picked. You get -1 status with them, and the other one doesn't care about your chosen market and is open towards working with you. You get +1 status with them. So whether this is like the kind of bar / music industry is a legitimate business or just like front businesses in this neighborhood, whichever makes the most sense to pick and choose from these two options. So like you can pick any of them, I guess. Obviously, like we've been talking a lot about the criminal factions, but there are also commercial factions, which maybe say, hey, I thought we had an agreement with the council about opening new bars here. It could be something very, mundane, right? If you feel like getting into that, or maybe you just say want to concentrate on the criminal elements. That's completely up to you.
So we got the records on there. Maybe MPH has had a deal or is trying to get a deal, or got screwed over by them in the
Swerve Records here?
Swerve Records, yeah.
I mean, it is pretty apt, putting out the sounds of modern country.
I'd like them to be involved to some extent, so it'd be good to have them, I think, as a faction we have a reputation with.
Yeah.
Now, do we want them to be our rivals, in that they're maybe like trying to expose that we're actually just a front for a criminal enterprise? Or
personally, I feel like it doesn't make a lot of sense to be like, oh, like our mortal enemies, the local record.
No, I know. No, I agree.
That's fair.
But the question is, they're interested in the claim, the front that you have, or they're indifferent to it, and we take +1 with them. I would actually be interested in them maybe being the +1 group, because they also seem to offer to me a good contact for laundering money in the music industry.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of like Jesse's sort of wheeling and dealing and like bringing people through here on tour and all of that. Like I know that like as the music industry has like changed over the last 20 years, and I'm assuming that this game is set in like as close to present day as we can make it. Like more and more companies are like, okay, we do publishing and tour management now, like sort of consolidating their offerings, I guess. So
yeah, Jesse can cut you in on that sweet streaming money.
Oh yeah, sweet. Hell yeah. My God, we're snake eating its own tail. Let's go.
Yeah, like all good criminal enterprises. Just all a close circle of ill-gotten gains.
Yeah. It's like the thing about like I remember reading the what's that book called? Meet Me in the Bathroom. A book about
early New York, Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were talking about how like everybody, all the fans in that scene were just like passing the same $20 bill back and forth to each other. I love the idea of like several rival like petty criminals just stealing the same score back and forth. Like,
can't get more indie than that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if we then say that they don't care about our chosen market and is open towards working with us, we get +1 status with Swerve Records, is that they don't care about our chosen market of like the real criminal activity that sits behind our front, right? But they're happy to take advantage of the situation, like the cash flow. And then the faction that competes with the starting claim we picked is competing with that criminal enterprise, which I'd almost be tempted to lean straight at Baron Carter, right? Like we're not big enough for him to swish down. We've paid our dues to him, but we're also, independent operators, right, in a time of war when like he's probably, the money was to sort of like, yeah, you know who you stand with. It's not the Barnetts. You've seen what happens to people who pay to the Barnetts. You pay to us, and then like doesn't mean we're in his good book. So does it? It's like,
And I given the length of the campaign, I don't think we want to introduce that many different.
Yeah.
No, we've got Baron Carter, Barnett
Yeah.
crime family, and now commercial accomplices to our criminal money laundering, basically.
So yeah, I guess so. Is this like Baron Carter's just going to squeeze you until he feels like he can just take you over, kind of thing? He's not squashing you because he has a war to fight, but
And, he would like for us to be, soldiers in the army, but at the moment we're just sort of Switzerland off to the side.
Right, neutral party.
Yeah.
Waiting for our shot.
I'm like, it's more like Luxembourg.
Sure. Yes. And then
Wow,
imagine the line is just getting thinner and thinner.
I would love to be Luxembourg in this in this situation. We're definitely not as swanky as all that, I think.
No. Okay, cool. Makes perfect sense. I'm going to go a little bit off on a tangent to talk about NPCs. We need someone from the civilian row to be like, I don't know, head of either the owner of Swerve Records. It's like a tier 1, so it's small. So maybe there's one person who does everything important. Anyone jump out at you?
Well, if we just need like a suggestion, I would put up Gonzalez for this. Like I think that he, like, what was it? Maybe that's where the name comes from, is that the person who owns the record, the label, was a race car driver in a past life.
So I would try to avoid making it one of your friends.
Oh, okay.
One of your close friends, certainly, because that makes you kind of almost unbreakable, right? In terms of the two factions. So I would pick like a completely new person to be like the head of Swerve Records from the NPC track.
And are we picking, just sort of identifying a picture from our
and if someone jumps out, you can like put a name down or fill in some details.
I don't know, based on pictures alone, I don't know, Ruiz looks like he might have owned a record label at some point. It's got an earring.
Sure. Yeah.
It'd probably be somebody kind of middle-aged, established enough to have a little bit capital behind them.
Yeah. So let's put so the only names that are present from before are like people who important names that came up in the Seco Creek game. So go for Ruiz. So as owner of Swerve Records, and maybe there's a connection with Gonzalez, right? I think that could be fair, right? Maybe back in the day, this guy was a racer himself, right? I think the instinct to tie things as tight as we can for a short run makes a lot of sense. Okay. Anyone have an idea for Ruiz's first name?
As in Ruiz, a first name.
I think Ruiz that's a surname, I think.
Okay.
Luis Ruiz, his parents hated him.
Oh, happy.
Yeah,
Ian, yeah.
Maybe we got enough rhyming names for one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One campaign.
You could just go with like David or something.
I like David Ruiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. It's locked in. And while we're at it, do we have maybe like a favorite lieutenant in the Baron Carter, or maybe not favorite lieutenant, but like someone who is likely to be in your face?
An NPC that's likely to antagonize us. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
who works for Baron Carter.
Mm.
I kind of like the slight pink-haired, androgynous looking person at the very bottom, as they seem like they would not be intimidating, which if they then become intimidating is all the more intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you plug in the details on that?
Ooh, she has like a, or they have like a switchblade for sure. Like,
Yeah, I was thinking Switchblade, and a complete lack of inhibition. Like,
yeah.
But Ash.
Ash is good. Evocative.
Yeah.
It's what they leave behind.
Kind of gender neutral.
You say that number 6 was burnt down way back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
We've identified, out of character at least, our arsonist.
The Baron probably didn't do that himself.
no, I don't. I don't know. I view him as the sort of like low level enough, like up and coming crime boss to occasionally show up and fire a few rounds off in the air and ham it up for the cameras, and then
Yeah, things have got to get bad for him to get his hands dirty. Right?
yeah. I don't think he cared enough about lucky number 6. Just
okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So next step is to pick a favorite associate. So the crew sheet has 5 associates. So these are all criminals, more or less, who you already know and work with to varying extents. Whoever you pick as your favorite associate works exclusively for you and has like a degree of loyalty. It is all but a member of the crew, basically. And the other people who are your associates might work for other people, depending on their circumstances. So yeah, I guess if you're, depending on whether your scheme focus is going to be the front or vice, you might want to think about which one you're going to angle towards. Anyone's jumping at it? Anyone?
I'm looking at our crew sheet right here. I feel like Hector the bartender is a pretty good call here, because we've got this lucky number 7 and none of us is necessarily in the business of running a bar. Like,
He's probably the manager. He probably manages. It wouldn't be just the bartender.
right.
He's probably like Happy's like best friend, business partner kind of thing. Our dead dad's business partner.
So he's Uncle Hector, right?
Uncle,
I like that.
yeah.
Uncle Hector.
Not really an uncle, but we call him Uncle Hector.
Like,
yeah. Which gets even more confusing with our cousin Jesse, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Uncle Heck.
Maybe just goes by Heck.
Yeah.
So he's like a heck raiser. You know, he was
Yeah.
Oh my God.
a family-friendly Hellraiser. Okay. Cool. I mean, yeah, I think that background is good. I mean, is there? He must know, right? What you're really up to. He's not like a shrinking violet or anything. He's your
No.
closest associate.
Yeah, I think he's definitely in on it. Maybe not like a active member of the gang in terms of our criminal operations,
Yeah.
but
Crime is a
yeah.
young person's game.
Yeah. He's the grizzled old character who tells you to be careful as he passes you a loaded handgun from underneath.
Right.
the bar.
He's Bobby Singer from
Mm.
Supernatural.
Cool. Okay. So next one is choose your crew reputation. Your crew's reputation measures what everyone else thinks of you. You earn XP for the crew by playing into it. It can be any adjective everyone thinks is cool, like ambitious or dangerous or professional or sneaky or just whatever. However you think you want to play the crew, basically, is a good place to aim for.
Is that listed here on the?
No, that's like a free reign. You could just those are just some examples, but there's whatever you think is will fit and will be fun to play.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, Donna.
The examples.
No, what we should be thinking about now. Sorry, I
the
missed
reputation.
The start.
So what
reputation.
everyone else thinks of you, but like also what you want to be an XP trigger for the crew whenever you act whenever you act backing up your reputation, you're gonna start raking in XP.
Like ambitious because it means that Baron's got his eye on us.
I like ambitious.
Yeah, that's good.
We've been hitting bigger and bigger amounts of money through our fronts, you know, enough that we can absorb the cost of losing an entire venue, you know, without it like having anything more than having more than just like the emotional trauma, which obviously doesn't count to the Baron. Like,
hey, some of my favorite neon beer signs were in lucky number 6.
They don't make those anymore, you know?
That's true. That's true. They're hard to come by these days.
lucky number 6 was clearly like the nicer one as well, right? Like,
yeah. I like that I like the idea that like our dad or whatever, Happy Pappy Harris, had like opened 5 bars before that.
Starting with lucky number 1, right?
That's right.
It's like, really? That's the name that you're okay, cool. Wait, it'll make sense after 6 of them burned down.
That's right.
Yeah. I obviously the aim was to get to 13, right?
Yeah. So I guess the you're thinking too small. Lucky number 69 is a way better bar.
Nice.
So as far as an XP trigger goes for ambitious, would that be something like taking on a crew that's bigger than us, or otherwise getting tangled up in something that's like?
I mean, you know, I guess thinking big, you know, is maybe how the flip side is biting off more than you can chew. But you know,
when you're in over your head,
if you're like too cautious, it probably won't strike. But you know, like I'm not going to be the one judging any of these XP triggers. You know, you're going to be as a group. So you know, if you think something is ambitious, even though it's cautious or whatever, you know, take that extra XP.
So how would you phrase it? When we bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah. Or what people would think is too much.
When we punch above our weight.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're aggressive too. Like you're not being defensive, you're being aggressive. You're trying to make a name for yourselves.
Right. Move fast, break things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When we put it all on the line. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so put in ambitious, and it's a very broad tent, right? It's going to cover
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of things. Yeah, so the next is probably what you've been waiting for. Choose a crew special ability.
Let's take a look at these here.
These are in the book.
They're
also,
all
it's
on
right
the
underneath
character
the
keeper.
big, the
Oh.
big thing that says Hellraisers in the panel.
Got it. Oh, I'm a dummy.
I feel like
I mean, insurgents would go with the ambition thing. Although maybe that's
yeah.
Well, I mean, that could be, yeah. I don't know.
That's what I'm looking at, I think, immediately.
Yeah, either that or hot-blooded. Yeah.
Mm.
So just so that I'm clear, because this is sort of a new thing for Copperhead County in particular, a hot approach is like
Yeah, so
in Blades there's there's like the different plans, right? There's like assault or
okay, so it's based on the
social.
load. So
Right.
in Blades where you have like 3 is light, 5
Right.
is medium, 6 is
so if we're coming into something heavily armed,
yeah,
you
except
would get
here
a
it's
+1
actually
die
a
to
little bit
engagement.
cleaner. If you look on your playbooks, you'll see in the equipment section there's only 2 and it's hot, which is all 6 load, or 3, which is cold.
Okay.
So
So
basically, if you're going
there's
in
not any
hot,
middle option.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're loaded for bear for sure. So that, I mean, yeah, it's very Hellraiser. Like if you're when you're kicking down doors and bringing all the guns, you're going to be better at that engagement roll.
When you're ram raiding the wagon full of money or whatever, right? Like, as opposed to, replacing the driver and quietly driving it away at the end. Yeah.
But that's what the hot approach stands for.
Mm. Yeah, hot blooded or insurgents, I guess. I'm good with either. Hot blooded, I think we might use more often. In theory, 3 times. Insurgents, probably just the twice in the sessions. But it'd be thematic, right? Insurgents as well.
Yeah.
I feel hot blooded maybe lends itself more to if we'd made. I feel like my character's the meanest. You know what I mean? Like out of the group, I don't feel like Malcolm's holding anyone up at gunpoint particularly, or breaking limbs.
Not with glee.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he'll do it, but he's not like looking forward to it necessarily.
And I think Jesse talks a lot and is scary, but is not necessarily one to actually, throw the punch or draw the knife.
Mm.
Right.
For what is where because most of my stuff is like social, I'm a little bit less attracted to the first 2, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense.
Should we go with insurgents because it's open to both approaches? Like a cold job or a hot job.
Yeah. Let's do that. I mean, and if we're going up against like higher tier targets anyway, I feel like a +1 die and not suffering from a tier difference comes out to be about the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're almost certainly going to come against higher tier factions because we're faction 0, right, or something now. Yeah. We can't
get much lower than that. That's for sure.
Okay. And then you get 2 crew upgrades. If you scroll down to the bottom of your crew sheet, you'll see kind of two sections to pay special attention to. Just check Hector. Okay. Hellraiser upgrades, which are specific to the crew sheet, and then crew upgrades, which are like other stuff that's more generic. So you get two tick boxes here, basically. The other option that you could have would be to take a captain who would either be like an expert, like with a very specific set of skills, or would be like a leader of a gang. So you've got a lot of options here, I guess. Some options for vehicles or for like specific weaponry or gear.
So you said that we have 2 points to spend here, and that's across Hellraiser upgrades and crew upgrades.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like some of for example, the arsenal, that would cost 1 of your points, but that allows you to buy 2 points worth of weapons or gear upgrades for 1 point. So like right now, it doesn't really make a difference, but it means if you do go up a tier, and you get more upgrades, they'll be cheaper.
Right. So the question is, do we want to like forego some benefit right now, so that when we level up later, we'll have like it'll be at a lower cost?
I would almost say you're not really foregoing a benefit now, because like with your second point, you get to buy 2 gear or weapon upgrades anyway. So
yeah, they could be used in a min-maxing way, right? Like I unlock the tech tree to get two upgrades rather than 1. Otherwise, I'd say the Hellraiser upgrades all look like long. I think there's no point thinking about it in terms of going up a faction if it's anything like Blades, because it's unlikely we will actually go up a faction in a very short amount of time, without a severe amount of you did 1 mission and now you get to go to the very end of the progression, right? Like your score was so good, sort of stuff, which is a fair enough approach, but a garage. If you have a vehicle, don't you? Anyways, I suppose.
Yeah, so you got a personal vehicle, but when you pick like 1 dot in the garage, you get to pick 1 type of crew vehicle that's associated with that space. So as well as I guess your personal vehicles are maybe not the things you want to be using on a job, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these are automotively oriented, vehicle oriented, and a lot of them are sort of weapon oriented. I mean, would Hope want to aim for a weapon, and Malcolm, you want to aim for a vehicle, and I'll be pleased that I got a general crew move that suited my needs.
Sure. Okay.
Ooh, I now have access to items on the ordnance list.
Oh
so
my gosh.
The ordnance,
here we go.
The ordnance pick is 2 of those upgrades. There's 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see. There's a difference between the ones that you take discrete, like the garage is 4 discrete times that you can take it, right? And ordnance and vehicle fleet. Okay.
The ordnance is a serious, and that just means that when you take items on a job, they can be. I mean, it's definitely worth considering. It means that you then can pick like explosives, grenades, machine guns, like serious shit when you go on your job, instead of street level weaponry.
As much as I love the idea of having a cool crime van with like a wizard painted on the side, there's only 3 of us, so I'm gonna opt for tuned vehicles. That's I'm gonna go with that. Our crew vehicles have been boosted. They have better acceleration, speed, and handling over normal vehicles of their type.
Nice. They may be rust heaps, but they are finely tuned.
That's right. They don't look like much.
Yeah, but they've got it where it counts. Yeah.
That's right.
So we could spend the upgrade on acquiring a gang or a captain, is that right? Or would cost 2 upgrades, I guess. Oh.
Sorry, so I just want to check on that. So I guess when you talk about crew vehicles, you're talking about like picking garage items to like get your crew vehicles. So like, but I would happily say, oh, you've kind of spent those resources tuning up your personal vehicles, but that would mean like you're using your personal vehicles on a job, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you want like disposable vehicles, ones that don't get tracked back to you,
I see. If you took garage, you could then take a choice from the crew vehicles, and then you could amplify it with your second upgrade into your sports vehicles are
right. But again, that would take 2 points. So how about this? Let's take 1 point in garage. Supply of vehicles and a place to keep them, unless specified. Each upgrade provides a number of vehicles equal to the number of PCs. So let's go with like disposable over good at this moment, and then maybe if we like get another point later, we can tune some vehicles. So
nice.
Let's do probably like utility, I guess. Wait, do I now get to pick one of the things?
So you pick one of those like types.
Okay, then I'm gonna do utility, because I feel like on Hellraiser jobs we're gonna get into some rough driving. So
yeah, pickup trucks are also cool to hang up.
The indestructible Toyota Hilux will have its day.
Well, I'm really torn in terms of weaponry, because part of me really likes the idea of just having like the Saturday night specials and things, rather than like the automatic rifles and silence guns. Given that I can't afford ordnance, high-tech gear would allow us to have high-tech features of our gear, so we could have like bugs and stuff that maybe the rationale is that like we move shit and we get nice shit back, or like I rigged up some stuff.
Or you've got like army surplus, or not quite surplus, fell off the back of a truck,
Right.
Yeah. Let's go with the high-tech gear, because that means that we can take whatever we've got from our normal inventory type stuff and improve it, right?
And Hope was in the service. She dated a quartermaster.
Yeah.
And so sometimes she managed to get a little bit of.
Well, he was my business partner, and I didn't rat on him, right? So it still gives me that hookup.
Well, I mean, you do have Morales, an arms dealer, as one of your not exclusive associates, right? So
yeah. I like it. Morales can be my
that guy.
Yeah, my Quartermaster X.
I like that this is like we're sort of leaning into the heightened or sort of pulpy stuff here, where it's like, how'd this like podunk crew get their hands on night vision goggles? I don't know. Like, it's not important.
That is exactly what your enemies will be asking after they've had their asses handed to them, right?
Well, I could have chosen ultra security, fingerprint scanners, heavy encryption on our dive bar.
On our dive bar. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Actually, I love, as much as I love having that whole connection up. I'm actually thinking that why don't I just take 2 vehicle upgrades, because then we can all enjoy fast vehicles and all enjoy things, and I think that suits more than like chop shop contacts and stuff as well. So do we want heavy, more reinforced, or tuned utility vehicle? I like tuned utility vehicles. Like,
yeah. I want to go fast.
Yeah.
I didn't name my character MPH for nothing.
I just got that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was wondering earlier on. It's like very certain about the middle name.
Yeah.
I liked it. made
It
me
could
think
be,
of
it could
Tails
be,
from
it
Sonic.
could be
but-
like Kevin Preston Harris, but that doesn't quite have the same like.
Doesn't no. Okay, awesome. So that is us just about done. There's some options here which are like finalize your crew, look at your crew sheet, is everyone happy? Which sounds like we might be. The same for your characters. Obviously, like in the next week, you got a good opportunity to fiddle stuff around if you have second thoughts. So I don't think that is anything special. I'm looking at the time, we're nearly 10 to. So what I'll do maybe is invite you to have some thoughts about who your first target is going to be. I don't think we've any prizes for guessing that it'll be against Baron Carter.
Yeah, but we're not
have...
like robbing his house though, you know?
No. But you could be like robbing one of his front businesses, or taking over one of his vice dens. You know, who knows?
Blaming it on the Barnetts, right?
Yeah. We got to figure out how they dress. You know, we got to figure out like what's their sort of calling card, and then try to like emulate them in some way.
I mean, like they're from this neighborhood. You see them all the time. It's not like it's a code.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's only a code for people who are not from Adamstown. Right? You're all gonna know what's going on with them. So yeah, let's have a think about that next week. I'm going to stop recording and we'll do some quick debrief so we can wrap up for the hour. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hello, Sabine.
Goodbye, stream.